welcome to another segment of intellectual brainstorming and academic excellence. You will agree with me, today is a very beautiful day and it's a very nice weather and everything is going to be perfect today. Um, Today we're going to look at something spectacular, something unique, something brand new, something fabulous, something dynamic, something extraordinary. And when I talk about extraordinary, you know what I mean by that. As we have always done whenever we are teaching or we are lecturing our teaming students how they. Um, my name once again is David Oni, and you are welcome to my YouTube and Facebook page called David Oni Wiz. If you have not subscribed or followed me on Facebook or YouTube, please and please and please just click on that button now. Follow me or you subscribe to my channel. And don't forget also to leave your comment and also to click on the notification button so that anytime I upload a new video on the internet, on my Facebook page or on YouTube, you'll be one of the first beneficiary to have the tip of the iceberg of that video. So today we're going to look at something different, something extraordinary, and like I promised earlier, it's going to be called the oligarchy. Oligarchy. Now, what is oligarchy? You see, oligarchy can be defined as a government ruled by few privileged and powerful people. When you're talking about a government that is ruled by few privileged and powerful people, you are referring to an oligarchic government. So it's a form of power structure in which people in which power rests with a small number of people. These people may be distinguished by actually what we call nobility, wealth, education, religious, political, or military control. For such people, they are called oligarchs. So, through history, oligarchy have always been a tyrannical a government. What do I mean by tyrannical? I mean autocratic, I mean dictatorial, or I mean something like a totalitarian government. So it has always been tyrannical, relying on what? On public obedience and oppression to exist. So that's why Aristotle, pioneered, the term by saying that oligarchy is what is ruled by the rich. Is a rule by the rich actually, a rule by the rich. So when you say oligarchy, according to Aristotle, is a rule by the rich. Now in the 20th century, we have a man called Robert Mitchell who developed the theory that democracy, like any other large organization, tends to turn into oligarchies. And he actually used in analysis, he used what we call the iron law of oligarchy. The iron law of oligarchy. What do we mean by the iron law of oligarchy? Now, the iron law of oligarchy is talking about a kind of a social stratification in the society where you have those that belong to the upper level. Now, these people they form a what? Iron law, an iron law, or a kind of a covering in which it is very difficult from those at the lower level or the middle class to be in their what? In their class because of that iron law. So there's a kind of a barricade that prevents what? All that people from being in their what? In their group under what we call the iron law of oligarchy. So it suggested that the division of labor leads to the establishment of what? Of a ruling class mostly concerned with the what? With the protection of their own power. So they tend to protect their own power. So that's what oligarchy is talking about. So oligarchy is saying that under this form of concept of government, the government is somehow egocentric. The government is egocentric. What do I mean by egocentric? Egocentric means that the government is kind of a selfish in nature because the government caters or protect the interest of their ruling class only as opposed to the majority that constitutes what we call the have-nots. The have-nots. So a business group, wherever you have a business group that might, that can be called or has an oligarchic characteristics. There are some certain things that are common with such a business group because oligarchic form of government exists in the world over. Now, number one is that the owners are the longest, you know, largest, sorry, let me use that word, that largest private owner in the country. They are the largest private owners in the country. Then number two is that they possess sufficient political power to promote their own interest. And number three, the owners constitute what we call they have what we call or control multiple business, which intensively coordinates their activities. Now, before I continue, if you have not joined if you have not actually, subscribed to our channel, this is an opportunity for you to subscribe now or to follow us on Facebook or on the YouTube. So oligarchy actually comes from the Greek word, which means oligarchia, oligarchia, which means the rule of the few, the rule of the few. Oligarchia, that is the Greek word, which means what the rule of the few. So Plato also discussed or described oligarchy as a constitution teeming with many ills. One of such ills is what we call greed, egocentrism, that is, the government caters only for the interest of their member. So it is based on greed, according to Plato. So the main goal of oligarchy is to accumulate and preserve their personal wealth. To accumulate and preserve their personal wealth. So oligarchy today steers politics to their benefit by funding what we call think tanks, lobbyists, and politicians. Now let us quickly look at what we call forms of oligarchy. Forms of oligarchy. I'm going to give a lot of these forms of the oligarchy that does not seem to exist in most of government literature or political science, of the topic on the oligarchy, in-depth analysis of the topic on the oligarchy. Now, what are the forms of oligarchy? Number one, we have what we call aristocracy, 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 aristocracy. Now, an aristocratic government is a form of government ruled by few persons of the highest social rank, known as a noble. They are often made up of hereditary nobility and constitute the elite group who have the highest social status as well as intellectual capability. They are considered to be superior to other. So an aristocrat, they have the highest level of educational background and the exposure, and because of that, they have what we call intellectual capability, and that's why they are considered to be more superior to other people. Then the second one is what we call autocracy. Autocracy. Now, when you talk about autocracy, is a form of government in which one man or a few persons rule with absolute power and authority. They wield overwhelming power without any effective accountability to the people. And this kind of autocracy existed in the fascist Italy and the Nazist Germany, fascist Italy and the Nazi Germany. Then we also have what we call number three, ethnocracy, or you can say ethnicity. So ethnocracy, yeah. When you talk about ethnocracy, is a rule by what? By an elite group, and this elite group are what? Are they constitute what we call what? Ethnic group. Ethnic group. So it's a group by an ethnic group. This type of political, government uses a group of people that is dominant to get power and resources and the resources. They use this word to get power and the resources. It is essentially the rule by certain, ethnic group, by certain ethnic group. So we call such what such a system of oligarchy, ethnocracy. This kind of government exists in countries like Israel, Serbia, Sri Lanka, and South Africa. So it is called ethnocracy. So an oligarchy form of government, which we have discussed now, is what we call ethnocracy. A government based on what? On ethnic group, where the ethnic group constitutes the government. So it is called the ethnocracy. Now we also have what we call geniocracy. Geniocracy is Geniocracy. Geonocracy. So what is a geniocracy? It's a government run by geniuses. Geniuses. When you have a group of intellectuals or or brain tanks or people that are very intelligent, they are very sound, coming together to form a government, they call it a geniocracy. So compassion and intelligence, are the two main characteristics of the person in what in charge. Compassion and their intelligence. Compassion and their intelligence. So intelligence forms the basis of what of such a genocratic government. So modern day country that practice this kind of a government are Canada, Germany, and what Honduras and other countries like that. Then we also have a gerontocracy. Gerontocracy. Now, what is gerontocracy? Well, when you talk about gerontocracy, it's a government controlled by a group of old people. Gerontocracy. Government controlled by a group of old people. Ancient Greek is associated with this kind of a government. Is this kind of a government? So ancient Greek was perhaps the most well-known example of this kind of a government. And when you talk about ancient Greece, you talk about where you have what the where democracy actually started, the ancient Greek city state of Athens. So the ancient Greek was perhaps the most well-known example of of a generautocracy government. So it is practiced in countries like like Vatican City in Hungary, Ireland, Iran, and Cuba, and some other countries, Then you have what we call critocracy, Kritachi. Kritachi there is what is Krikarchy. Kritachi. What's a Kritachi government? It's a group by a group of people, by judges. So when you have a group of judges, ruling a country, it is actually called what? A Kritachi government. A Kritachi government. So it's a rule is the rule of the people by judges. It's also called what we call decastocracy. Decastocracy is a Dicastocracy. Decastocracy. So it refers to a system of rule that existed in ancient history and was made up of judges. The rules in Cretaceous government are customary laws. They are actually customary laws. Examples of countries that are that operate on a Cretaceous government are Somalia, Iran, Albania, Kenya, Romania, and Vietnam. They are very good examples of what we call a Cretaceous government. So before we proceed, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do that right now because this channel is wonderful. It's what you need. It will actually elevate you and actually build you up in your area of academics. And you can bet me that this topic has actually been very very interesting.